AI in the Simulation, Part 1. Have our ancestors been here before? This episode was made possible thanks to Awlias.com member, Dylan. Before we begin, a little warning as always, this episode may cause an existential crisis. Also please hit that subscribe button, so I can make more of these episodes. Are We Living in a Simulation, Episode 5. Later this month, a little video game you may have heard of, is being released. Its title is called Red Dead Redemption 2. Bit of a mouthful, so from this point on I will refer to the title as RDR2. But why am I letting you know about this? How does a video game fit into an episode of Are We Living in a Simulation? Because RDR2 looks, feels and plays quite freakily like real life. Well, real life in a 1899 rural version of America. Rockstar, the studio behind this video game, claim this title has been 7 years in the making, with reports of some staff working up to 100 hours per week. 1,200 human actors, 500,000 lines of dialogue, 300,000 animations, hundreds of millions in development budgets. All to make you, the player, feel like this game is real. Sound familiar? The game's main story script is over 2,000 pages long, but even the non-playable characters have up to 80-page scripts. Later this year, an online update to the game will allow players worldwide to enjoy this Western simulation together, in real time. But as mind-bogglingly impressive as these stats are, they are not alone what makes this game feel real. So far, I have stayed away from video games when discussing simulation theory here on Awlias.com. This changes today. For this week's episode, I wanted to cover artificial intelligence, AI. The timing of this console game couldn't have come any better. In later episodes I plan to explore the history and depths of AI in greater detail. But for this first short chapter, I want to simply demonstrate just how video game AI, which some would argue is pretty basic artificial intelligence, can trick our brains and emotions into believing an experience is lifelike, or real. Back to RDR2, and the game's developer Rockstar has a history of making real open-world games, continuing to push the brief. Most famous for their Grand Theft Auto series, in a recent interview with Vulture, an employee confirmed that the goal with RDR2 was to provide players with a seamless, natural-feeling experience in a world that appears real. There are no loading times when moving through parts of the game. The Vulture reporter confirmed this, after having an actual hands-on play, reporting, "The vistas are hyper-real." RDR2's art director Rob Nelson says the team wanted the game world to respond to the story, so much so that we were obsessed with it feeling natural or organic, in every respect. But, while the game is indeed beautiful, I don't believe this is what is core to this lifelike experience. RDR2 focuses on the little things that trick our brain and senses into believing something is real. At the heart of all of this is artificial intelligence. But what is AI? Quite simply, artificial intelligence is the ability for a computer or software program to learn or think for itself. It also provides machines with the ability to mimic human cognition. Now video games typically use a more basic function AI. So the goal here is not to learn as such, but instead its purpose is to perceive what the player is doing, or more importantly, about to do, and then run scripts to generate art, sound, and animations for the player to experience. For example, let's consider how weather works in this latest video game. Or to be more specific, let's explore snow. Now one could argue snow in video games is nothing new. In the good old days of 8-bit video games, a smart developer who wanted to show snowfall could simply add a cluster of single white computer pixels with a basic looping animation script, and they would be good to go. As technology progressed, and computers become more powerful, developers could now add multiple pixels per snowflake, create different sizes and perhaps add shading, if memory would allow for it. As video game generations progressed, these pixels would need more complex scripts to be simulated. So for this in-game snow example, instead of the software being programmed to start snowing at a certain part of the game, thanks to AI, the game itself can now decide at which point to begin snowfall. And not just when to start snowing, but by how much, taking into consideration other elements, such as whereabout the player is on the map, or if there are other simulated events running, such as wind and direction. In RDR2, the developers have gone one step further. Not only does AI do all of this, but it also changes how the playable character behaves. Humans typically don't enjoy being caught in a snowstorm, and so neither should the player's character. Rockstar have spent many hours on the painstaking task of animating these negative reactions to a snowy blizzard. Artificial intelligence can decide in what order to create all of this in real time. The snow is also manipulated and falls from object to object, just like in real life. When the snow finally rests on the video game's floor, it stays there until a video game character walks through, creating unique realistic footprints. The direction of the character is completely unpredictable too, depending on where the player chooses. And so all of this is done in real time, by the game's inbuilt AI. Each snowy walk will differ between player to player, each experience feeling unique. This type of artificial intelligence is known as emotional AI. The more advanced the artificial intelligence, the better and more real-life the experience can feel. Following the early play session, Vulture report, everything feels real. The starry, unpolluted night, the cicadas. Game critics call this being immersed, but immersed almost doesn't do it justice. This world of Red Dead Redemption 2 feels so alive and real, you feel projected into it, and then possessed by it. That is quite a quote by one of the game's very first players. So now, we find ourselves once again with a possibly frightening question. If our video game Snow has progressed, within 30 years, from white single pixelated dots, to realistic shaded, physically correct snowflakes, powered by powerful AI, that our brain identifies as real snow. Then, where to next? How real is too real? How smart does AI need to be for us to not know it's artificial intelligence? What would Red Dead Redemption 312 look and play like? But there's even a more frightening possibility. As any good history teacher will remind you, in order to see the future, we must first look to the past. What if our ancestors, humans or otherwise, have been here before? What if they learned, just like we have, how to code, how to create scripts, how to create artificial intelligence, how to create AI that can create AI? What if? What if we don't need to wonder what Red Dead Redemption 312 looks like? What if we're already playing it? But please do not panic. This is all simply theory. In part 2 of AI, I will explore just how advanced our artificial intelligence has become, and ask at what point could we hit the singularity, or if we have already, and this is our simulation. Big thanks this week to Awlias.com member, Dylan, whose donation has helped fund this episode. Dylan is a member of the Awlias.com Alliance, which grants him full right access to the official forums. I would love to work on these simulation theory episodes, full-time, creating more real-world videos, research, animations and podcasts. But at this point, I cannot do this until support is greater. If you would be interested in supporting a simulation theory community, then please visit Awlias.com, where you can also chat with myself and other members. Thanks for listening. See you next time on Are We Living in a Simulation? That's AWLIAS.com.